Hello, everybody, and welcome to our session today, where we're going to talk about loyalty programs. My name is Alberto. I hope you guys have enough coffee. I hope you're having a good time. And next, I hope you have seen lots of good things about AI. This talk is not about AI, so if you're looking for those words, it's probably the last time we talk about it, at least from my side. Are you going to talk about AI?
Not today.
Okay, so then this is the last time you're going to hear about AI. We're going to talk about loyalty programs. And we're going to talk about introduction, what are loyalty rewards, what are the pain points, how Web3 can actually help if you have a company that has rewards and programs, how it can help boost them, how it can help use them, track people, understand who's your customer. And the last thing I will be talking about is Google Cloud infrastructure to help you. So my name is Alberto. I worked at Google for quite a bit of time. I'm a director of product management, and here's Ryan, who's the global lead at Polygon for partnerships. Why don't you take it?
Thank you. Are you all able to hear me okay? Thumbs up. How's the sound? Great. So thanks so much for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be able to present to everybody. Partnership. Oh, no good? Better? Okay. Just let me know if there's any issues with the sound. So I'm the global partnership lead at Polygon Labs, the growth and development team, advancing the Polygon blockchain, we're a scaling solution for Ethereum. And I work with partners like Nubank and Starbucks and many of the partners that are building Web3 loyalty programs. So today we're going to talk about what is that? What is the business? And this is a question. A lot of people say, what is the business use case of blockchain? Well, today we're actually going to talk about one of the actual business use cases of blockchain. We're not going to talk about the theory, but what's actually in market, where the adoption is going, and we'll talk about some trends for there, and then we'll take questions for you. So hopefully this will be interesting and fun. I'm a big nerd about this topic, so I think it's fun. So first of all, before we jump in, let's talk about what are loyalty rewards. Before we talk about Web3 loyalty rewards, we want to define what are loyalty rewards. So a loyalty program is a marketing tool used to increase consumption of a product or service where you exchange value in exchange for consumption, okay? And it's used in multiple industries. It's used airlines, hotels, banking, retail, quick service restaurants. You probably all, we'll talk about this later, you may belong anywhere from 15 to 18 different loyalty programs. You may not even realize how many loyalty programs you belong to. So this is across multiple industries. And according to Forrester's marketing research, 53% of business to consumer decision makers are going to increase their spending on loyalty. Back in 2002, we're seeing a trend of just increased spending here because you can increase the lifetime value of their customer. And one of the themes we'll talk about is it's not just about acquiring new customers, but how do you grow the lifetime value of your existing customer base? So that's the definition of loyalty. So this slide is really about why loyalty. So according to Nielsen's research, 84% of customers are willing to choose a retailer that runs a loyalty program. And people will spend, according to Forrester Comar's research, 3.5x more transactions. Now this makes a ton of sense. If you're getting rewarded for your consumption, maybe you use a certain airline or a hotel, you're going to keep spending there. So the key takeaway is people want to get rewarded for their consumption patterns. And also, this is not anything new. Every time I find the earliest example of a loyalty program, there's always something earlier, so I have to keep fixing the slide. The earliest one I had for a while was Betty Crocker's program in 1929 with the stamps. But actually, it goes back to the 1800s with these like copper coins. It even goes back further than that. And it's actually been very popular during times of economic hardship. That's when loyalty programs actually work the best. So it's an old thing, it's been around for a while, increases consumption, and people have a preference to use it. So what's changed with loyalty programs and what's still the same? So what's still the same is a loyalty program works really well when the incremental cost of giving away a product doesn't eat so much into the company's margins. So this makes a ton of sense, right? You're on a Delta flight, you're a Delta loyalty customer, there's an empty first class seat, they give you that first class upgrade, high perceived value to the customer, low cost to Delta. Now let's say you're a loyal customer of BMW and they give you a free car, great for customer, eats into the program margins. So we don't want to have, this is the big problem. So this is a theme we're going to come back to. You don't want your loyalty program to be a cost center. It has to be a revenue generator. So loyalty program margins, and when you talk about Starbucks, where 40% of their revenue is going through this loyalty program, it's all about running a high margin, high value program. So it's all about program margins. That's the thing that's always been the same. But here's what's changed. Loyalty program operators are trying to make their programs less transactional and more experiential. So think when you go to your local deli, let's say, and you get a sandwich, you get a sandwich, you get a stamp, 10 stamps, you get a free sandwich. That's a transactional program. Brands are they're still doing that, but they want to have experiential programs where they actually have built up brand equity over time. They want to transfer that to the consumer. So and this comes back to the margin. How do you transfer the value of your program to the consumer without eating the margin? Make it more experiential, connect the person to the brand, and not just make it a transactional relationship. So that's what's changed, and that's what's still the same about these loyalty programs. Now, okay, that sounds great, but there are some key pain points. And I'm just curious, is anyone here a loyalty program operator affiliated with a loyalty program at their company? Okay, I see a couple different hands. So I'm curious, you'll let me know after this if these resonate with you or there are other pain points. But based on my conversations with brands and with some of the loyalty program operators, these are some of the key pain points, and we're gonna do a double click into each one of these. So the first one is that it is getting more expensive to acquire customers. Customer acquisition costs, they're saying, are up, and return on ad spend is down for a lot of these loyalty program operators. Second huge problem, there's a lack of program engagement. I talked about a stat where we've seen people in 15 to 18 different programs. People are getting rewards, and they are not redeeming rewards. So we've seen 20% reward redemption rates. So we're gonna double click into that in a second. So people are not redeeming their rewards. They're not engaging in the programs. 3, we talked about this. Giving away free products eats into the program margins. So how do you balance giving value with not eating too much into your margins? So that's a difficult balance that every loyalty program operator is struggling to figure out how to do that. 4th, partnerships are manual and the tech lift is heavy. So what's the classic strategy to run a high margin loyalty program? You make a multi-company loyalty program. You stay a lot at Marriott, let's say, they bump you up to a very high level, then you get a discount at the car rental company. So that's where you do identity resolution against those 2 customer lists and the status, but that can be heavy. That's a business development effort. You're doing identity resolution against 2 customer lists, privacy, okay, but the status is updating on Marriott, so that's complicated to do. And 5th, it's hard to have a 360 view of the customer. We live in a multi-channel world. You might put something in your shopping cart on e-commerce and then go to the physical store. Do they know that you added that to your shopping cart? So how do you have that 360 view of the customer so you can actually personalize the experiences for the customer to drive a better customer experience? So these are some of the key pain points. We're gonna double click on each of them, and then we're gonna talk about the blockchain solutions that some of the partners I'm working with are leveraging. They're leveraging Polygon and GCP to be able to do this. So first of all, customer acquisition costs are up, return on ad spend is down. Okay, why is advertising getting more expensive? Well, because the deprecation of web cookies and changing Apple iOS policies, it's harder to have data, and also with GDPR, all the regulation, it is just difficult to be able to personalize advertising at scale. So it's difficult to acquire customers. So that's why the B2C marketers are increasing their spend on these loyalty programs, because they need to increase the lifetime value of the programs. So that's the first problem. The second problem, a lack of engagement. People are just in too many programs. And this is also an issue of design. We build a lot on Polygon, a lot of folks are building mobile games, and people are not getting rewards fast enough. People are just not engaging in their programs. They don't realize they're in a program, they forget. So the engagement is super low, and that's a problem. We don't necessarily want it to be 100%, but it has to be higher than 20% reward redemption rates. Margin loss. I won't do this a third time. Giving away free products eat into the margins. But this is gonna come back to a blockchain solution. So I'm gonna keep saying this one because it's gonna come back to the whole strategy here, but margin loss is an issue. Partnerships require a heavy lift, identity resolution of 2 customer lists. You just got upgraded at Marriott, you get upgraded at Hilton, et cetera. How do you update the status? And then you have to do the computation. You have to be able to pull that to be able to get the reward with the other company. If you're doing a multi-company reward program, it's just a heavy lift to do that. And finally, personalization is tough across channels because you have to have that 360 view of the customer. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the blockchain-enabled solutions that customers are using within the context of their loyalty programs to be able to unlock higher margin and deliver value to customers. So the first one, and we're going to double click into all of these, is when you use blockchain, when you use a shared ledger like Ethereum and then leveraging Polygon and as a scaling solution, you actually have an open standard for multi-company rewards. It's easier to facilitate multi-company rewards with that open standard. So we're going to talk about that. Second, we've seen a really interesting stat that in the United States, there are $40 billion of redeemable rewards. If you think about redeemable rewards as almost like an asset class, think about the stamps, your points on an airline, your points at your local hotel. Actually, there's a lot of different rewards. If I use an Amex credit card, there are a lot of rewards which I'm not redeeming. So there's a $40 billion market. Now, if we posit again, this is estimate, but if we posit a 20% redemption rate, that means there's $32 billion of unredeemed rewards in the United States. Now, we can go back and forth about the exact metric, but the point is there's a lot of unredeemed rewards. And what is blockchain really good at? Creating a secondary market. So we'll talk about how that might be able to increase the redemption rates. Third, there's the concept of token gating or token enabling to create a 360 view of the customer. If you have an NFT or a token that grants you access to a certain experience, you can actually have a persistent view of the customer. So we're going to talk about that so you can personalize experiences. Fourth, in the same way that you're able to essentially token gate to personalize experiences, you can actually use on-chain data to be able to deliver personalized rewards, which can circumvent the rising customer acquisition costs and the return on ad spend. And finally, there is an ability to use decentralized autonomous organizations to be able to have customers participate in governance over the brand, over certain things. And we'll talk about some use cases in the context of corporate social responsibility, how basically you can just have more engagement with your brand. So let's talk about an open standard for stacking rewards. So when you have a shared data layer, Polygon, Ethereum, a blockchain, where you can actually have your rewards on chain, it makes partnerships simple and permissionless. So you can have multiplayer commerce now. So let's give you an example. So let's say you have diamond medallion status on Delta Airlines, and it's represented as an NFT on the blockchain. Tomorrow, a luxury luggage company can open a Shopify commerce store or on the Google Commerce Store, and they can token gate and say, hey, if you have a diamond medallion status from Delta as an NFT, we're going to give you a 20% discount, or we're going to give you a free bag with the purchase of another piece of luggage. They didn't have to talk to Delta to do that. Delta is accruing value to their program. Again, remember, program margins, all about program margins, without having to have to do the legwork of the partnership. So when you create an open standard, you allow for permissionless partnerships and value accrual to your program. Think of this as like commerce Lego blocks. All of a sudden, you can stack commerce solutions together, accrue value to the program. So my Delta status is now more value to me because I now get this discount on luggage, I get a discount on travel, I get a discount on hotel. So you're opening up that standard. So partnerships are simple and limitless for multiplayer commerce. We talked about the $32 billion secondary market for rewards. We believe at Polygon Labs that this is a really interesting asset class, and I'll give you an example. So after I bought a Casper mattress, I then got an email for a $150 gift coupon to buy another Casper mattress. Now, I have a little bit of a bad back, but I only need one mattress. So you can actually sell that on a secondary market to someone who's in market for that, and then you could get a cut of that. So I would get a cut, and the person who actually wants to buy the mattress would be able to redeem. So that's valuable to the customer. I'm actually using that that coupon, and then they're acquiring another customer because that's already a liability on their balance sheet. So this secondary market could represent an interesting opportunity to address the challenge of the low redemption rates and could also be another customer acquisition tool. So the $32 billion secondary market for redeemable rewards. Now, let's look on the other side of that. Remember I talked about if you had your Delta Diamond Medallion status on chain, you could go to that luggage company. The luggage company could token gate their Shopify store or Google Commerce experience, let's say hypothetically, and give a discount. And that was good for Delta because they were accruing value to their program. It's also good for those companies because now they can prospect into high value customers using on-chain data. So if you know someone is in a loyalty reward and reach a certain status, you might be able to infer the lifetime value of that customer, and then you're giving them a reward only at the point of purchase. So this is performance advertising. So it's not even cost CPM, it's not cost per click, it's not even cost per action, this is cost per purchase. So that's a really interesting opportunity to be able to deliver rewards at the point of purchase if you're looking to prospect next new customers with a high LTV. And then you have token gaining for a unified experience. If you're able to use that NFT status at each point of the customer journey, you can be able to identify who that person is and personalize the experience for them. So the Polygon Loyalty Suite, without getting too deep into the product roadmap, we are essentially a scaling solution for Ethereum. We believe that Ethereum is going to be the settlement layer for the Internet of Value. So whether it's financial use cases, in-game digital assets, loyalty program, this will be a shared settlement layer, and we believe that can unlock a lot of economic opportunity. And we scale that. We've made a $1 billion investment in zero-knowledge technology. We have roll-up technology. We essentially make it faster and cheaper to be able to facilitate transactions on Ethereum, and we're inheriting the security and decentralization. So key takeaway if you're new to the space of blockchain, faster, cheaper to transact on Ethereum with Polygon. And with that, I will pass it to discuss Google.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan. So you heard a lot of terms right now by Ryan. Super interesting, amazing rewards. I hope one day we can all trade rewards. I would love to have a Starbucks coffee right now versus someone potentially getting a new luggage from me or whatever it is, right, that I'm selling. Anyway, so what is Google doing in this space, and why are we talking about rewards with Polygon? The first thing, and I consider a lot of things that Google does a public good. For example, every time you have a question, you go to Google search, you search for the answer, and then it translates to something that you kind of understand. How do you actually, what does this mean? What is loyalty programs? What is Polygon Labs? What is Ethereum? What is an NFT? All those are questions that you often ask to places like Google when you don't know what to do. So for us, today what we've been building in Google Cloud is we've been building infrastructure to make blockchain very easy. Most of you might know or might not know how blockchain works. You might know how to set up a server, but it's pretty daunting. One of the first things you need to do when you develop an application, which by the way, most of the code in blockchain is open source. You can just copy and paste it. But then the trouble comes when you copy and paste everything and not everything works. So the first thing that we want to do in Google is we created this, and by the way, you connect to that code through these things called Node, and they are Node Engine. I mean, at Google we call it Node Engine, Google Blockchain Node Engine, and those nodes, what you can do is with a simple 3 or 4 clicks, which I think I have right here on a GIF, you can actually create one of these nodes. Today you can create one of these nodes in one of the chains called Ethereum, but very soon, over the next weeks, months, the latest, you will be able to do that also with Polygon and eventually with Solana. Great, you have your application up and running. What do you do with this application now that is live? The first thing you want to know is data, right? And one thing that Google is very good is at data. We can get tons of data. And the good news about blockchain is all this data is publicly available. So these are, when Ryan was talking about ledgers, all these databases are fully open for anybody to look into them, see what happens, and understand how they're treated. So for example, if you can see, let's say you are now Pete's Coffee, which is also a chain over here of coffee that is quite popular in San Francisco. And you like to know how is Starbucks doing on the loyalty program. You can actually go and see whether they have customers that are coming back and whether there's people that are very interested on the loyalty program or not. So one of the things that blockchain brings is publicly available data. Google is here then to get all this data into our data analysis tools. One of them is called BigQuery. And in BigQuery, you will be able to understand with very simple questions, how many transactions did it happen today? Let's say, how many transactions happened today in Starbucks? How many people redeemed? And all those questions, then imagine you can put them together and create a Looker dashboard or put into a spreadsheet. You might not even know how to create a dashboard. Google has a spreadsheet. Just create a spreadsheet, and then from that spreadsheet, you can create your own tiny dashboard or your own graphs. So that's why we're here. The last thing I wanted to talk about is in blockchain Node Engine, how does this work? So something that we released around 3 months ago. We had it in preview before. And what it does is simple UI. You can choose from a drop-down. We have this thing called full nodes, which allows you to access a dedicated node for yourself or your company that can actually query these blockchains, that you can understand what is happening, what traffic, submit transactions, sign transactions. And then we also have archive nodes. Another thing that is very good about blockchains is it keeps version control, and everything that ever happened on a blockchain is recorded over there. It's immutable. You cannot change it. So for example, if I traded today my Starbucks rewards with the Marriott points, that will be always over there. So Marriott can go and say, oh, remember those customers we had 3 years ago? Let me query for them. Let me understand what are they doing today, and let's see if I can bring them back. So you actually use these archive nodes that we provide with Blockchain Node Engine to be able to query them and then try to bring them back. It's going to be fully configurable. We take care of everything in terms of who maintains these systems, IT, SRE, etc. We monitor them for you, for your company. So if for whatever reason they go down, do not worry. We'll have load balance. We have all the things that Google is good at in terms of maintaining large scale systems. And of course, they are enterprise grade, right? We have all of them that you will have support from us. You can actually have virtual private configurations, like if it's on premise versus off premise. And we have things like Cloud Armor, security, everything that Google brings, we are just bringing to the blockchain and then to program to rewards. And with that, we would love to have feedback from you guys. We left plenty of time for anybody who wants to ask questions, whether they are public questions or whether you want to ask privately. But we're very excited about this space, and hopefully you can build with us. Thank you.